shop. And we have Chief Reed here to talk about police department.
Morning.
Good morning.
So to start off, the budget season is also an opportunity for me to recognize our department in certain ways and to thank the board for the prior year. But, our department, based on budget allocations, prides ourselves in providing a professional police service to the community. We have outstanding employees within the department, and each day we seek to take the extra step for those who call us, whether it's something simple or more complex, and those people that are in need. And so looking ahead to our 2025 budget, we intend to continue to deliver that same quality service to our community with the same group of people. Our budget is largely based on contractual obligations, right? And then the second part will be our operational needs, right? So I frequently, and in the past, I've described to the board there's no fluff in our budget. There's no real extras in our budget. It's strictly an operational budget. When I present that budget, I don't present lines that have a lot of room or any room for cuts. I don't present a gas line that's $50,000, knowing that we're only going to use 30, so that there's $20,000 left over. What you get from the police department and what you've received from us for many years now is an operational budget that reflects our needs and has none of those items in there. So I enjoy this conversation. I enjoy this meeting. It gives us time to reflect on some of our operational practices. But what I'm telling you is that our budget is largely based on contractual, which is number one. It's the biggest line items in the budget. And then some operational requests, whether it be equipment, gas, phones, those kind of things that we need to do our jobs.
So I made a few tweaks in your budget, but it nets to like a $6,000 increase.
Excuse me?
I did make some tweaks to your budget.
Okay.
But it's a $6,000 decrease.
Okay.
And it was just in mostly the boat and gas, gas and oil and fuel oil for the vehicles, just because it was trending this year. We're not going to spend the full budget amount, and gas prices, looking at different economic indicators, showed that gas prices weren't going to change substantially in 2025.
Supervisor, I would agree with you in looking at it. I kept those numbers the same, but if I play out to the end of the year, I think we might have $5,000 to $6,000 left in the car gas line. One of the reasons I leave that alone is because there are other lines from time to time that we may have slight overruns in, and those numbers help us to not have to ask for money out of contingency. The second part of that conversation would include if gas prices do change or something does change, then we will need to come back to you in 25 to ask for money from contingency. So I understand completely. I understand what this town board is trying to go through and try and keep the budget as tight as possible. But there's some minor flexibility in that line, but just know that if gas prices change or something on the world dynamic changes, we'll be coming back and saying we ran out of money. We need to keep our cars going and our boats. So understood.
Yeah, and I did actually take up office and miscellaneous based upon past trends.
Yes, exactly.
So instead of having to do a budget transfer,
Right.
I figured to just give you the extra 3,000 in that line, because it seemed to be on point.
Yep. I would just like to talk a little bit, if you don't mind, about police reform and some of places we're going. Back in 2020, we engaged the community and did some work on police reform. We ended up with roughly about 13 topics, and we're moving towards meeting all the recommendations in police reform. You know, you may have noted recently some of our community outreach, whether it be this block of opioid workshops on grants. We've done some senior outreach where we've worked with them on scams and fraud cases. We continue to have a DARE officer and present DARE blocks to largely the middle school, but we've worked up into the high school and added some opioid blocks into that. We do lunch with the police officers, so on the community side, we are definitely working on that. There was also discussion about transparency, right? And so the town board has felt the need for greater transparency over the years. It's one of the things that when I listen to some of the, if you want to call them complaints from the public, is having a transparent board, but we hear it in the police department too. And we've largely worked on that. One of the things we did recently is we had a active shooter drill and school safety drill, and we invited the press and other members of the public to engage in that drill. When we've had coastal storms or other events, we've invited the press into, you know, our private discussions to see how things operate. We've put stuff up on our website where people can make complaints, request records. You know, we're frequently giving out records, but we're trying to work harder at being more transparent. If you look back at the last 5 years, we've increased our diversity within the police department by some hiring. We've also done some outreach to both the Hispanic community and trying to get a greater pool of officers in at the largely the TCO level, and then hopefully work their way through. So we are nearing the end of a 5-year block, and if you went back to the 13, and I can go through them, I'll take up too much time now, but I am telling you that we didn't forget about that. You know, we have largely worked toward that, and we'll continue to work towards that police reform. But one of the things that I'm putting it on the table now is in 2026, the last thing that we have in there is body cams. So we are going to work in the capital planning and grant side to get grant funding for that. But in the 2025 year into 2026, by the end, we hope to have all of our officers be deployed with body cams. It's the last part of that reform process. So we'll work on the capital planning side to get money. There are other police agencies getting money. One of my reluctancies in that was having the staff and the ability to work with the videos and deliver the videos to court and other purposes, and having the storage and the IT side. I see Kevin has left the room to support that. So we've had in-car video in our vehicles. All of our patrol vehicles have videos in the car, and that has worked very well. The additional costs of that haven't been that bad, so I'm hoping that the body cams don't create an additional load for us. But on the other side, the positive side, which that is not small, is again that transparency and that ability to see how officers are responding to calls. And largely the feedback is that it's to the benefit of the officer as much as anybody when they're out there working with body cams. So we're going to work towards that in 25 so we can implement it in 26 on the capital planning and grant side. So that is something that is on our table. The other thing that we have is on the marine safety side. Well, this year in 2025, anybody operating a boat needs a boater safety certificate. So this year, for the last few years, we've done 3 educational blocks in boater safety, and we're going to add some marine safety classes this summer. We're gonna work with the yacht club and some other groups to make sure that we hit those border communities, but everybody operating a boat this year is now required to have a boat safety certificate. They phased that in from youngest to what you would say is oldest, but 2025 marks the year, and we'll do, again, it's great community outreach for us. It ties into that police reform model, where the more community outreach we can do and the more involvement we can do makes for a better police product, right? And a better service to the community. So we are trying to meet, the desires of the community, and those desires were reflected by that committee and the survey. We put out a survey, and so we're still working on that, even though it's largely behind the scenes from the public. I'd be more than happy to go through the 13 things at some point and tell you how we've worked to achieve that. Training was a big part of it too, and we largely use language line about anytime we have language issues, we have enough staff and or ability to create a way for people to communicate with us. So were there specific line items that anybody wanted to address or had a greater concern within the budget that what I would say is non-contractual?
I did not, because I addressed them and I did my detailed review.
I do have a question though. On the body cams, of the 5 East End towns, which ones are still going without right now?
So Southold, I think, has bought a product, but hasn't implemented them yet. Riverhead, so I would say most of them are just transitioning. Some have product, but haven't instituted it yet. I think West Hampton Beach is the only one that I know is fully operational with body cams. So I think that in 25, you're gonna see a next, 2 or 3 more join, and then by 26, I think you'll see that we're on par with the greater part of the East End towards that. Suffolk PD was doing it precinct by precinct. I think their 7th precinct now I think they started with their highway and some specialized units to learn and grow with it, and now they added the 7th precinct. I think they're pushing that down through the entire department, but I still don't think they are also. So I would say that we're right where we should be with that. And fortunately for us, we haven't had the complaints against officers, and so that does make that a little bit less of a priority for us. Again, from a management side, there's a lot that comes with it, and the release of those videos, rights to privacy, redactions, in some of the videos that there's public involved that might not, or should not be released. So there's a whole host of things that get associated with that on the management side that I do worry about, but I think we're at the point now, having used in-car video, because all of our traffic stops are on video, and all of our other calls are frequently on at least audio, if not video, so you can hear the transaction. So even if we go to a domestic dispute, the in-car video is running the whole time when the officer is in the residence, the microphone's on. So you can capture some of the audio, depending. The problem with that is depending on the nature of the house and how far away from the car you get, you can lose the audio, and then you're subject to, the perception that it was either done on purpose or you don't have the equipment. So again, once we go live, we have to have redundancy in equipment, so that, and the same thing in the cars, if the in-car video is not working, we don't use that car for the day. Right, so, or unless we have no other cars available, it's based on equipment issues, but again, with, body cams, it comes with a lot behind the scenes. The easy part is probably recording.
Yeah, I was wondering, handling the data that's produced and the video.
Yeah.
I guess you now have West Hampton Beach you can reach out to find out if it has increased their load, but
It will on cloud storage, so we like on the in-car video, we pay for cloud storage, and over time that has slightly grown, but it's not unmanageable by us. In my contractual line of the budget, I think I have about $2,000 a year for the in-car video storage. That comes with WatchGuard video. It's not itemized, but it's in a proportion of the budget, so there's a lot behind the scenes that make that work. Look, the other part of that is we are thankful to have Kevin. Operationally, we're really appreciative of the work he does. He's not here right now, but I don't know how his time allocation is resourced out throughout the town, but when we need him in the police operation, he is there. And especially when it comes to data storage and those kind of things, and then we have to back up the data, we have to make sure that it's available. Once we have it, we can't dispose of it, and you know, so there's a lot to it. So Kevin does a tremendous job for us, and I think as we progress forward, you know, the town's gonna have a greater need on the IT side as we move forward too. So I'm hoping that we don't add a tremendous load to him, but you know, if you have 11 officers with body cameras on and 2 or 3 redundancy, our Marine units are gonna have to have them on, they have interaction, so you have 3 Marine units. You know, it's 15 cameras, it's 15 platforms, plus redundancy in the platform. So, you know, when we make a purchase, it might be 20 body cameras to deploy 15 to 16, so that we have backups when those aren't working. So there's a lot to it. So I'm hoping that we can get the technology piece on grant. And then the operational side will then fall back to us on data storage and maintenance and release of data when need be.
Is there a retention time for these? Do you have to keep them forever
So our
or?
rest, yeah, some of it we don't, and some of it we have to keep what I would call forever.
Because I know like with certain documents, we have to retain them in perpetuity, so I wasn't sure if it was like that for the body cams. I mean, I guess if there's nothing happening and you're just driving past squirrels, but you know, if there's an actual call or you stop somebody.
Yeah, so we have that in the cars now, so, and it's also, it's not just that, it's if we make an arrest,
Right.
it's the appeal on the arrest too. So if we have an arrest and a conviction, the DA won't release anything till after the appeals period. It can be 7 years to 10 years,
Okay.
depending on the nature of litigation. So, yeah, so as you know, it's extensive policy, there's a lot to it. But Benjamin, you brought it up. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're gonna look to our big brother in Suffolk PD and the smaller agencies around us to see how they're managing it. And I hate to add this to it, there's also gonna be contractual obligations. So it's all a bigger piece of where we're headed. But I think our timing has been fair. If you look at 2020, when we first started looking at this, and now going forward, I projected out that in 5 years, we would head towards it, and that's working out pretty well for us. So I feel pretty comfortable about our timing of it.
So quickly switch subjects on the voter certificate. I mean, I know you did a course or 2 at the ambulance barn, you did one at the yacht club. I'm not sure if there are others, but it's all due January 1st. You said you were gonna do it in the summer. Are you planning to do it maybe a little earlier before the voting season?
Yeah, no, we
Asking for a friend.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and we've had some requests, so not all of our classes were filled. I think they actually dropped a class over this past summer. We did 3 classes, so we pre-season, you know, and speaking to Bo and Butch about it, and Pete, plan on delivering it before the voting season starts. So we'll offer one up, you know, January, February, not a lot of people around and maybe not connected to the voting world, so that there has to be some logic. If we can get a class of 20 to 25, then we could deliver that. But we are looking at exactly what you're saying, pre-voting season and during voting season, to deliver that as much as we can.
I mean, let me know if I can help with with the yacht club and making it happen there on site or whatever you need.
Yep. And Karen
Yeah,
spoke with me also about this in the last week or two.
okay,
And
good.
so we're gonna definitely work with the boating community and the yacht club is a part of that boating community. So we'll definitely work with them to try to get it out as soon as we can. There is some reluctancy on long-time boat operators too. So
Oh, yeah.
I understand that.
But now that's required, so they have to do it now.
Right.
Yeah, last summer it's like, yeah, I'll wait.
Anyone else? No, there really wasn't much to
Mhm.
tweak in this budget.
Whatever.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
And the only other person coming in is Jack. At 10:15, I can't remember I'm looking for the schedule. Up with my papers to me.
9:30.
Stacks just getting bigger.
9:30. 9:30.
9:30.
Nine. Okay, he said he should be in shortly.
Amber, are we still live?
Yes.
Did you, have discussion about that high water vehicle? Did you want any involvement from me and that, from my emergency management hat, not the police hat?
If you just want to go over what the use of it will be while we're waiting for Jack, that would be good. I did go over it briefly, we got the grant application out there, hopefully funding the other half of it.
Okay,
But the need would be,
Did we ever get a picture of it? I think we asked for that at one point.
oh.
Like, high water vehicle, you know, what does it look like?
Mhm.
I think that if you know what Ken Lewis drives, you ever see his white highway truck?
Yeah, yeah.
It's not gonna be much different than that. It's a lifted, F-150 and with an exhaust relocation so that it doesn't go under more. So I don't want the community to think that it's, some elaborate, vehicle that couldn't have a day-to-day use also. It's a vehicle that can get us hopefully out, or into areas that we might not be able to get through if we had 2 to 3 feet of water. And largely for medical purposes, so that if in the bad condition of a flooded causeway is the easiest example, we had to get to Ram Island, that this vehicle could go to approximately 3 feet of water, that's probably about where its margins would be. And that it's for the most part an F-150 or a 1500 series truck that's lifted with what they call a swivel, which basically puts the exhaust out higher up. And we could put somebody in a stretcher, bring them back to a waiting ambulance on the other side, and then take them. How this came to be, and I credit Joe Fenora for this, was that we've been looking at the first and second causeway and the increased flooding of that area and our ability to respond out there. And when we started talking about, $2 to $3 million road lifts to get out there during emergencies, a less than $100,000 vehicle to aid in that response without doing any road lifts could go a long way. We're currently surveying, or Joe is in the process of working with a company to survey from Cobbett's Lane out to the base of the Ram's Head Inn, so that we can get elevations and find out where our low spots are, and then better understand when we have water in those low spots, can we get through that or not? But this vehicle is really a stopgap until we can look at road changes and enhances our ability in a time of emergency. We had two, what I would say, not blue sky flood events, but 2 flooding events this year in January and April that really limited our access out there. So I'm a proponent of it. It gives us another tool. It's not a super expensive tool and it can be used during snowstorms. We've had other snowstorms that have limited access. We have other flood prone areas besides the causeways. So it's one of those things that if we could supplement it with grant funding, would be very helpful for emergency operations. The vehicle would sit with the EMS. It's not gonna sit with police or fire. It'll sit with EMS, fall into their regular vehicle maintenance schedule, and operationally, they could use it at other times, so it doesn't just sit, but Ken Lewis, the highway superintendent's vehicle, is a nice example. Lifted a little bit more and a school brig instead of a rear exhaust.
Now I get it.
What height of water can it strictly go through?
It's 36 inches is the
36 inches.
So that's the margin. So that coupled with the road survey data, we should be able to give some predictions. So we're trying to get that predictability so that we can use our Notify Me account, right? So anybody that signs up, that we can get messaging out to Ram Island and say, look, this next event is gonna be predicting, 4 feet of water surge. We will not be able to get to you. You need to either evacuate or you're not gonna be, for a period of time, we won't be able to assist. But on the fringes of that, we may be able to, right? So I think the vehicle coupled with the survey will enhance our ability to know what we have and our ability to go through it. So, but 36 inches, so one of the other things, or my hope is that we can identify some low pockets. And even if we had to do a 100-yard stretch of the road, and if we raise that only 12 inches, right? So that instead of being, if the surge is 4 foot, now we lost a foot there, so we can get through with this vehicle because we're at 3 foot. So when that survey data comes back, if between the engineer, the highway superintendent, and the vehicle, we should be able to come up with some ways to possibly identify areas that we could do light paving projects. And that will enhance our ability to get out to somebody in need.
And we're also looking to hook in West Neck Road as well, because that section near Longview also is subject to flooding on both sides of.
From high low.
Yeah, at the beginning of Hilo all the way to right past Longview,
Yes.
Westmoreland.
So,
And just to reiterate, page 26 of the budget has the capital projects, and you'll see the 93,000. That's the expenditure for the high water rescue vehicle. And if you go to page 28, we put in the New York State Environmental Conservation High Water Vehicle Grant for 46,500. So the net effect on the budget for this vehicle is 46,500.
It's reasonable.
Yeah, and I think I covered that a couple weeks ago, but just since we're talking about it. And, yeah, I saw Jack outside.
right, perfect.
Yeah, it's on
Okay.
time. Thank you.
The chickens out. Grab my charger.
Thank you, Chief.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Jack will be discussing page 15. You've probably been talking to somebody.
Sorry.
Of course, it keeps the guy. It's all apart, the ceiling says, it's all apart.
It's okay, we got you.
It's one of those
As long
things.
as I don't trip. Morning.
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 I was gonna say, if you want to sit in Stephen's chair, you can.
Please do.
Closer to the microphone.
You ready
for me, or you need a couple minutes?
We're ready.
Okay. Oh, Shelby, I don't know. Yeah, I can keep copy. No more.
Not, I can make a copy.
I always think 5, but in the works.
I brought you a present.
It's 2 there.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You on TV?
Yes.
That's what you are.
Just take me a minute to read through this. So I guess I'm a quick reader. I'm liaison to the committee, so I know what Jack does. You want to discuss your line and the longevity line, but I also did make a cut in the communications line.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you had seen that.
I think we'll be able to pull through that,
And the reason,
agreeing with that.
okay, and the reason I did that is, a lot of the communications equipment does get funded by the foundation.
Right.
So I went through and looked at the past couple of years for what did we spend on equipment and what appeared to be coming from funding. So
I think that's fine.
Yeah,
Just so you understand, I can't predict what the foundation will support. We can only anticipate. And historically, they've been able to help us with that. So I think the cut that you made in that line, we'll be able to pull through.
Yeah.
No
I was
problem.
trying to go with like what's our baseline kind of town-funded communications equipment and maintenance on that equipment as well. So, okay, good. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't dig too deep there.
Yeah, no, I did see that. Thank you. So maybe I'll just give you a little into this. First of all, I thank you for the opportunity to address you on this. Really, the only thing that I am here to discuss is the longevity for my position. And I'll give you my point to that is that I'm more than a 10-year employee now in that position. I think the position should be looked at for the position, not my other functions in the town. I note in the budget that other part-time positions are funded with longevity in their parts, prorated, and I don't know why my position would be unique. I'm just looking to be treated fairly and equally, like other employees of the town. I prepared these documents mainly for the newer town board members that may have not a full concept. I kind of work off the grid for the town board. My position that I feel is that you pay me to handle this department, and I think I do that well. And very little things have to come to the board level to interject. So I think that, I'm filling that role for you. As I've discussed with the town supervisor, the role has changed in the last few years. I also now have to supervise the paid paramedic program. Although we pay somebody to come in, we still have to manage that. And a big component of that is getting the volunteer and the paid system to work together and work well, and it does. That is something, it's not unique. It's anytime you get a group of people together, we have to make sure everybody's playing nicely in the sandbox and getting along and keep things smooth. So that's an added responsibility to my function. One of the other things that is big too is personnel issues. I try to resolve all those personnel matters before they have to come to the town board level and before we have to seek, legal input and pay outside people to handle these things. So I think I do that well. All of the situations, and I'm sure at the town board level, I don't know how many employees the town has, 75, 80 employee or total. Between committees, there's 100+ people. I'm sure you deal with personnel issues probably regularly. So do I. And it's not that anybody's doing anything wrong. We just have to get people to work together and, establish the common goal of providing good quality emergency medical services that we do. So with that, with the back end, I want you to understand there's a lot to my role that I'm doing that I feel for you that you don't have to handle. And that's what you pay me to do. So one of the things with longevity, I'm over a 10-year employee now in that position. I'm just looking for fairness and equalness that other employees in the town that have not full-time positions are compensated longevity. And I don't know why I'm not in that same position. The town employee handbook, which I was told that I am to adhere to and I signed off on, it defines longevity. It doesn't say that it's for full-time people only, and your own budget shows that you're compensating people for part-time positions. So I'm just looking for that same position. I outlined in the the second page, the white page, some of the other key points that I think are important. You know, my position allows the town not to have to fund somebody another $30,000 benefit package. I don't get any pension enhancement. You know, this is a flat rate salary for me, so, you know, I think it's fair to ask for the longevity. You know, I think the town has to look at retaining employees in the long run. You know, that's the structure of any organization is longevity. So if anybody has any questions, I don't want to take up your time. I know you have a ton of things to do with the budget, but that's my position. I've asked for it before, and I don't think it's been addressed in the budget. So.
I talked to Labor Council last week, just to, to go over all of this and gave the examples. Currently, there are a couple of people who get stipends who have longevity attached to it, and longevity should not be calculated on stipends according to Labor Council. So back on page 18 in residential repair, there's 2 lines for longevity, so those need to be dealt with because they should not be there. And then also part-time positions are not longevity applicable. So
Where does it say that though in the employee handbook?
that's, we're in the process of updating the employee handbook. And now that we've talked to Labor Council and dove into this, we need to better write that section. So that's on the list for HR to include. So, yeah, when looking at what you just gave me, it's like, yeah, it's not clear. And we don't have
So
any,
you're going to change the employee handbook to exclude me?
no, we're going to change the employee handbook to properly reflect the law and how, like, what we have going on here. And also, we do have part-time employees in other areas of the town who do not receive longevity. We have a part-time justice court clerk, we've got part-time employees in fit center and recreation departments. So, yeah, Labor Council was like, no, I'm trying to get in no scenario do they see part-time or stipends getting longevity on them. So we have to fix what we've done in the residential repair and then properly reflect it in the handbook.
So other employees that have numerous part-time positions, which I guess in the eyes of what you're saying equals a full-time position, that's different?
Yeah, we gave the facts and circumstances of your situation as well as the 2 other employees that we have the longevity calculated on. And we have a couple other stipends that we've just recently under the senior shopping center. So now we've made a notation that that will not ever have longevity attached to it as well.
So I leave you with, I still feel that I'm entitled to longevity. I think it's well worth my position. I have longevity with the town, you know, and I think that's the whole purpose of it, is to retain seasoned employees that work. I'll leave you with that for your consideration. You know, Labor Council guides you. You're the town board. You make the decisions. You have the right to do, you know, you say it's the law. I'd like to see what law that is. I think it's an interpretation of, you know, the employee handbook, which currently states that I'm within the parameters of the handbook. That's my position, and I thank you for your time. You know, you have a lot to do on the budget, so. Does anybody have any questions of me? Everyone always asks, how's it going? We're at an all-time high for calls. This probably is going to be one of the biggest years of call volume. We're just under 400 calls. We usually cap at around 340 on one of the busiest years in history. So I don't know what that is. More population probably would have a lot to do with that, but we definitely are doing a lot more calls. You know.
I had a question with respect to the coverage that Stony Brook gives us. So when we first started to bring in a paid staff, it was for a 12-hour shift, and they paid for 50% of that. when we move to 24-hour coverage, they still are paying for 50% of that first 12-hour shift, but we are picking up 100% of the second 12-hour shift.
This is the paramedic.
Yes, yes. So of the line number in here, the 431,250, we are paying 75% of the cost. Have we had any word from Stony Brook that the
No.
contract just?
So the last word that I had, but it's not official yet, is that they are looking to hold the numbers at last year's rate and the half pay agreement to stay intact. So they would half fund the first 12 and we would be responsible for the back 12. So I'm working diligently to keep that, you know, everyone has reason to increase and I get that, but they sound like they're moving towards holding that number firm. That would be great.
I'm just looking to see, like, because that is saving us $143,750. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's more than a percentage point.
yes, it is. Yes, it is. So, thank you for your work on that.
Jack, thank you for running such a great, first-class, top-notch service. I mean, the ambulance crew is amazing. I appreciate it, at least.
Yeah, thank you. Yep, no, and, you know, I run the largest department of personnel in the town, which I think is overlooked at times and stuff. That's why I feel the longevity to me is important moving forward. And, you know, I can't do it without the volunteers. You know, it's a great bunch of people. And the little things that we've addressed in the budget along the way of trying to keep them volunteering is critical. You know, we have to continue to look for ways to retain volunteers. You know, we're having luck with recruitment. We seem to be getting a couple few every once in a while, which is unique. That's not what's happening in Wolf Island. So we're doing well with the numbers, but retention is a big one. And if you ever have a conversation, an important point from the government is that we really look and we need employees of volunteers to be mindful that we rely on these people to be allowed to leave work. And that's critical right now. That's kind of a change. Employers are kind of not so lenient with time. The town took a lead in it and we allow town employees to leave to volunteer. So I think that was a great example to push, but we really rely on the businesses and employers to allow the volunteers to volunteer. Critical point. Thank you.
Do we need to ask them about AEDs or anything like that Ken brought up, or?
Yeah, I don't know if, is the ambulance having any involvement in?
Like the building, town
Monitoring.
building AEDs and.
So I
Updates.
spec'd out the units for Ken and I gave him a proposal from our vendor. And it's now in his court to fund it, or your court to fund it. We can help provide the training and get that up and running. But yeah, it's just a matter of pulling the trigger and buying them.
Yeah, I think we might be able to find funding for about 5 in the 2025 budget.
So you can replace, fill the gaps where they don't exist, but then replace some of the ones that are aging.
Yeah.
And then we can roll over next year, do another batch, and then hopefully replace them all within.
Yeah, I don't know if Ken, how much information he gave you, but the units that we put in for are like everything nowadays, they connect to the internet. And the maintenance, which used to require people to go around and check them and check the batteries, which fell short in a lot of places and it wasn't ready when it was necessary. These are internet connected and it does all the monitoring and stuff electronically. Sends us an email if something is deficient. So it's well worth the money for the new AE. It's a little bit more money, but it's well worth it in the long haul.
Yeah.
Less maintenance and
That's not-
higher probability that they'll be ready.
Yeah.
You know, because they do. We have them in other public buildings. Sometimes I go and look and it's probably 2-3 years of a dead battery. You know, that's not useful.
Right.
Yeah, if you can support Ken's proposal there, that's well worth it.
Try and phase
We're
it
gonna
in.
work it in.
Yeah. Anything else?
Thank you.
Did the Labor Council respond in writing?
No, they haven't given us a written response. And they also mentioned, like, they're going to be reviewing the town code in addition to the handbook, because I think it's in town code where the longevity was first put into place. Some of the conversations coming back, looking at my notes.
Something is incorrect through the town code.
Say that again?
Said something is incorrect through the town code because you guys changed the handbook over the years, like 2022, and it wasn't incorporated with town code either.
Well, actually, town code, yeah, I guess town code,
It was iffy. They have some handbook stuff and then some.
yeah, the town code drives the handbook. So if we do want to change town code, then we'd have to go back and address that. But, yeah, they didn't give a written response, but
Okay. It's just, I just want to leave with, it's still my position that I feel you should fund my position with longevity. I think it's critical to the plan that we retain people, seasoned employees. And, I feel that I demonstrate I'm a working component, that this works. And
no. And I did go into the conversation open-minded because I wanted for them to tell me what legally was the right path for us to go.
Okay.
So I wasn't swaying one way or another. Just so you know,
Thank you.
you got a fair shake.
Thank you, Jen.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
Okay. At some point today, are we going to go into an executive to talk about salaries and such?
Yes, we should.
Okay.
Yeah, because we've got a few reviews to do.
Yeah.
Different, we reviewed some employee salaries with respect to performance. What's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, and I did give you some things to look at. Yeah, maybe,
You still have a list of like open items.
I was just looking for that. I've
Yeah.
shuffled and reshuffled my papers. I didn't sit down yesterday and do what I did in between the last two meetings. Let me see if I can find my.
I have the top, like the two. Oh, I don't. It's like town board salary and historical society.
Oh, yeah.
Those were my big question mark notes.
Oh, no, that's, we have to do that at the end of this meeting. That is the resolution to set the public hearing. Yeah, so just set that aside when we'll go through a few things now, then probably go into executive session. We will call, when we go into executive session, and Julie, since she's the only one watching on Zoom, I'll call you to let you know when we come out of executive session. But if we want to go through, yeah, I guess it's sitting in the other room, the list that I have.
Is it the one that you printed the other day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a copy. I just have
Go
some.
get it.
This one?
Yeah, that's the one. Thank you. Here's my, yeah, but I have like lovely notes all over.
Oh, yeah, mine's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty, but other than that, they're not so lovely.
Oh, wait, no, this is one. I have it. I just recognize it. Right at the top. All of the things that we finished up. Okay, so yeah, what do we want to do with the council person salaries?
You want me to publicly say the new audit number? Because I don't think it's that one.
Yes,
So it's account number A1320.400, and originally the budget was 76,700. We can drop it down to 74,800. And that's because we found the revised engagement letter from the audit company with the lower number.
Yes, and Shelby and I were
On the
talking
record.
about it, yeah. They had told us.
What's the number
one-
again?
Yeah.
74,800.
I'll put this in. That
I'll
was,
be saying.
$2,000, like
$1,900.
take it.
Yep.
Hey, exactly.
What's the line number?
A1320.
175.
Yeah.
In the spreadsheet.
What's your spreadsheet's different than
I
mine?
have a feeling my spreadsheet's different than yours. Here, yeah, mine's 177. Okay, so hold on a second, let me just, that's 74.
74,800.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That was good, because Shelby and I were going through that a while ago. We were like, wait, they quoted us one thing and the contract came in for something else, and so we paused the concept signing the engagement letter.
And then one of the questions was like, why was the number what we spent for 2023 so low? And it's actually because we overpaid one year, so then they billed us less for the following year, but now we're all caught up. So
Yeah, it looked up,
it looked really
cut
weird.
it down. So good, you got that one down. Good.
So we answered the question, does Jack want us to adjust the communications line? That's fine.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Health insurance, Barbara, the number.
Right, yeah, and the line, is he eligible? He's not eligible. So the only fix there would be a salary adjustment. And actually, let me go to the residential repair. That's on page 18. So we have two longevity lines for the Judy and Barbara, 990. So
They're part-time, so
it's not part-time, it's a stipend.
it's a stipend.
Right.
So we're
that
not
has to
supposed
come
to be calculating. So now, if we take those off, I think we could get mostly negating
Their longevity.
their compensation.
Oh.
Let me just get to the spreadsheet, salaries. Let's get a quick and dirty.
Stipend for,
It's a stipend, so,
Just running the program, really.
yes, so
it's not like compensation for
stipend-
ferry
the
fees.
stipend, according to the Labor Council, is a bonus for doing more than your job. So your job description, Judy's case, confidential secretary, but then she also fields calls and helps to schedule the residential repair program when seniors in need call and ask for something. So she's doing something that's over and above her job, and therefore she gets a stipend for it.
And the issue is that this is being calculated into her percentage longevity.
So we had put a longevity piece on it, but that's incorrect. That's incorrect, yeah, thank you. Now, one of the things, residential repair is kind of an animal unto itself, because we are getting reimbursed by the county for that. So I was thinking we could just take those two longevities and put it into their coordinator stipends. We still get it reimbursed by the county, and if that county program ends, they would no longer be getting that stipend. Their salaries would still be their salaries. They wouldn't have to do this extra work within their day. But they would be making less. So that's my recommendation on those two stipends, to correct what we've been doing incorrectly.
So right now, it's listed here as longevity. That really should say stipend.
No, above it, coordinator,
Coordinator.
that's the stipend,
That's the stipend.
yes. So 66 plus 990 plus 75.
When we don't,
Yes, that they will not be getting that 7590 extra compensation.
So, yeah, 75.90.
That's that. So 867.75.
Me too, I need tabs open. I have like 5 versions of the budget. This is not correct.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Now you know why I always put like version 2, version 3, version 4, because otherwise it's so confusing.
so somewhere along line 797, if that helps. Because we are getting reimbursed by the county, I would otherwise say we would just take away those longevity payments, but because it's not costing us anything,
Okay,
and it keeps
good.
them whole.
That works.
Yeah.
Is there any other place with a part-time job that has longevity?
Nope, I went through and double checked.
Okay, it was just-
Yeah, yes. I mean, we have stipend for the senior shopping assistance program. So Marissa is getting a $9,000 stipend on that. So if, when she is longevity eligible, we will not put anything on that.
on the 2 lines above, so these people share the job and split this fee?
Yes. So it depends upon their.
They put it, they put in time cards, and they get paid for the hours that they worked.
Yeah, so depending on who's available for whatever comes up, they get.
Handle.
Yes, and somebody must be working on something, because I did see Don Dunning and Tom Heshigan walk back and forth while we've been in this meeting, so somebody's getting a residential repair today. Oh, I never went back, the church, right? Are you on the same thought as I am?
Yep.
I never got a chance to talk to Kelly. But my thinking is, so we have $48,000 in for the church rent. They said it would take 2 to 3 months during which the construction, so we'd have to move the nutrition program. I don't know whether or not we would move it to the senior center downstairs, or if we could do something like serve at the community center, but cook the meals in the senior center where there is a kitchen. It's awkward and tight, but I don't know if you've both seen it.
It's a kitchen.
It is a kitchen, so they could prepare something. There'd probably be some sort of meal modification, especially if we're transporting all the meals over there. But we would probably still utilize, because we have a lot of storage space, there is a back room at the Presbyterian Church. If you go in the back door of the church to get into near where the kitchen is, there is a pretty big space that is completely used by us for storage of supplies and things like that. So I think we would be paying, we would have to pay some sort of rent towards that. So I'm thinking, just for budgetary purposes, maybe if it's like 2 months or 3 months, maybe take off a month and a half of rent. So reduce the 48,000 to 42,000. We'll have to work out in the lease agreement exactly
Oh,
like what that would be. But if it's, 3 months and we're only paying, storage for that back room for 3 months, so we would be paying the full 4,000 a month. But I don't know what they would want to charge, so I'm suggesting we take that to 42,000.
Okay.
That's totally fine. I was looking for some sort of reduction in that, because it was a bit of a hit over the head to double the rent all of a sudden.
Yes, although, I mean, if we take the existing rent and we divide by the number of hours in the lease agreement.
Oh, yeah.
multiply by what
Two more
we're
days were
actually-
picked up. and-
Yeah, 2 more days
Oh,
plus more.
I'm not saying it's out of line.
Yes, yeah,
I'm
it's
just
just,
saying,
it's a
like,
big hit.
who was, asleep at the wheel for?
But we've expanded the program. It's been more, I think, we've had people in there 5 days a week for over a year. They were knowing that we were
Coming up for
looking at the
contract.
program and going to have to renew the contract. Charitably did not.
They accommodated us.
They did not
Thank
come
you.
back and renegotiate, so we have gotten a free ride for a year, so.
That's good.
Yeah.
All for it, whatever you.
All right, so I've changed that to 42,000. Okay, I did review with Rob, the rental of the medical center I have on my list, so we're 2410, so we're down in revenues. To the right.
Medical center, is that what you said?
It's, yeah, medical center,
2410.
yes.
Page
So
31.
31. Oh, 33.
So Rob gave me some estimates. I played with his numbers a little bit. And for the rental of the medical center, I put that on the list, but I don't know why I did that. That's in the lease agreement. So that number's fine, but it's the electricity and fuel oil reimbursements that have incorrect numbers.
Yeah, it seemed.
27.
14.
As far as too low, or,
They're too low, so I just want to bump them up a little bit. I'm just looking for the right
I
place.
mean, you can't do anything for $750.
Yeah, $750 is definitely incorrect. So I just want to get to the right place in my spreadsheet. Here we go. Okay. So for the electricity reimbursement, that is not $1,000. That should be $2,200.
Okay.
And the fuel reimbursement should be $3,400.
That makes more sense.
Yeah,
What was the fuel? What'd you
the
say?
fuel would be $3,400.
34.
3,400.
And the senior center is out of that equation.
Correct. Right.
There's a separate, okay.
Yes, so the senior center, I'm just looking to see if I have percentages for senior center. I do have the percentages for what Stony Brook and Hampton utilizes. Their percentage of the space is 35.5%. So in their lease agreement, they reimburse us that proportion of fuel oil and electricity. Dr. Kelt had a different lease agreement. The community came out, wanting to make sure that we kept him as a sole practitioner. So he does not participate in any fuel oil or electricity reimbursement.
Okay.
You were looking at the building department fees, and we're just skipping over the B fund for a minute while we
Oh,
go through
yeah.
the list.
So what I did was I went through, I was looking kind of at the revenue side of things with the B fund. Building department.
Like line 380-ish.
Building department revenue, yeah, 356.
Page.
I think for the 44.
So I was looking at the building permits, that building permits line. And I think the reason why it's a little low so far this year is because we had the large home moratorium. We had the wetlands transferring back and forth between planning board and town board, which kind of slowed down the review process a little bit. We had the dock moratorium. I'm looking at all of the pending applications that have just kind of gotten bogged down in the works, and those are some rather large projects that I think are going to be coming coming to the town for permitting in 2025. So I think we can bring up that revenue side of things. Let me see if I can find my spreadsheet.
You got the September, through September figures? I left that, I took it out of the book mistakenly.
Yeah, yesterday it's in my office.
I need a whole
Oh,
list.
wait,
I
I do have it here. Consolidated
I'm
all of
losing my
them.
mind. Never mind.
Quickly bring it up.
Pardon?
I can probably quickly bring it up.
Okay, so there's 4 large home applications that are pending, that are going to the ZBA for review. And those are, like I said, large homes, and so the building permit is calculated based on square footage. So those are large permits that are gonna come in. We have 2 large site plan applications that are then gonna go for building permits. So you have the library and Pearlman. When they get building permits, those are gonna be hefty. Liberty Lawn Care is a small one, but that's a site plan review. And then for wetlands applications that have building attached to them, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them that are all gonna be going for pretty significant building permits after the review process is done. So I think all of those are gonna come in 2025, so they probably would have come in this year, but they got bogged down in transferring wetlands back and forth and in the moratoriums. So I think that, you know, those would have been revenues that we don't see this year, that we'll see next year. So that's why I feel comfortable kind of bumping the revenue side of the building department a little bit.
And what do you want to bump to, 475?
Yeah, 475. I mean, I would love 500, but I think that 475 is safe.
Too big of a push. The comfort level.
Yeah, no, I think
Yeah.
475 is a realistic number.
And in 2023, we had 496,000
Right.
in building permits.
So I think we'll get back there pretty quickly, since we've closed all the moratoriums on kind of that
Hopefully.
issue.
Very conceivable.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a reasonable number.
Site plan review fees. Forgot to look to see where our site plan for review fees getting posted in Williamson. I guess it goes,
We always did special exceptions, so.
yeah, you use the special exception permit because we have to update
Right.
the site plan review permit, the application.
So it's been in that,
In special, okay. With that,
there's nothing this year.
there's nothing.
Yeah, because we
No.
haven't set the fee.
Right now, it's a weird calculation based on area, right?
And we put it on pause because we need to decide if that's the way you want to go.
Right.
So you'll have income from these site plans as well. Or we still go with the calculation for now and then so we decide, but
And the complication with the calculation is that as the plans change throughout the process, then the fee has to be adjusted. That sounds like it.
So I don't think we have anything in for site plan review fees then.
No.
So that's a line that needs to be added. We get a few, I mean, we're getting more.
Yeah, I mean, we have 3 right now, but 3.
Mm-hmm.
With the change in the code, we're probably gonna have more, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, the mayor's gonna come to us with a site
Yeah.
plan and ask. Yeah, we really need to finish fixing that code and getting an application done.
I'm just trying to think where's the best place to, I was gonna say, I don't want to put a lot in there, but maybe,
Can we do special permits and site plan, kind of combine them in a line item?
yeah, that's it. The right revenue line. Okay, so special exception application fee. So we've got B 2770, so on page 45. So why don't we,
Rename it a little bit.
yes, we'll rename it and put something in there.
Special permit and site plan.
Mhm.
Are there other things that you put in that line, Amber, or just special permits are there?
5,000, 10,000?
It depends on the structure we choose.
5,000 is safe, and
I think
there's more,
5,000,
there's
yeah,
more.
Yeah, let's do 5,000, because like small, like something big, like.
You have two big
Be
projects.
big, that would be a higher fee, but something smaller,
It'll all depend on how we structure it.
yeah.
I think that's fair.
Okay. You know what, I'm not sure if on the WAC, the USGS, let me just make sure I made that change.
Okay.
It's line 252.
Yeah, I think mine's like way different than yours. I'm like 230, line 238.
Be 80/30.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I did 29,377. Okay, good. That's on page 42. Okay. Check that off the list. We needed, Ken spoke about 2 people requesting to go from HEO to CEO, or from one from AEO to HEO.
I'll have to figure that out,
Yeah,
if it's approved.
yeah.
Can
I
just-
think what I'd want to do is just maybe add, like for the public the budget for the public hearing, let's just add $2,000 to the personal services line in highway? No.
So brush and weeds.
Yeah, actually, people, let me go back to the one I could guess who,
Well, there's
Just
only
put
one
in-
HEO, so.
exactly, yeah, that was an easy one.
That one.
Yeah, so that's the brush and weeds.
Mhm.
And I'm guessing the other is,
Break the load.
The page, action needs.
I'm looking at the highway sub.
It's,
total
Probably
page.
both brush and weeds then.
Why don't we do that for now? We'll put it in the DA 5140 line. We'll just add 2,000. But then after we set the public hearing,
yeah, we'll figure out
during
the
until the
number.
public hearing, you'll have time to go ahead and redo those detailed spreadsheets.
Yes,
And then we can make those changes post public hearing.
Okay.
Personal services will put it.
Yeah, so it's in the DA 5140.
page 47.
It's right there. Yeah.
If that's the case, then are these stipends that Barbara calculated gonna change? For health insurance? Or no?
We'll let her update her spreadsheet.
All right.
That's
So then we
why,
won't
we
put
can't-
those in yet.
yeah, I was gonna say, I think 2,000 is just safe for now, and then the staff can do the detailed updating of spreadsheets. Do we want to make an adjustment to fit center fees? If we're going to reduce the,
Yeah, take 2,000.
yeah, I was gonna say take 2,000 out of those
Gonna have-
numbers.
To make it free for the kids.
Yes,
Mhm.
mhm, yeah. That's on page 30, oh, no, no, 34.
Direct fees for youth.
Mhm.
We raised the fees for
It's,
the
no.
adults.
Um,
When's the last time we did that?
We usually, I thought we do it every year. We do a slight increase by resolution. So we do need to, we'll have to take a look at that. But it's line A2001C on
What page
page
is that?
34.
34?
Mhm.
Fit centers.
Yeah, because
How many members do we have on the adult side? Is it 500?
I don't think so, actually. Good question. Yeah, we'd have to ask Bethany. That's not a number that's floating around in my head right now.
There are too many other.
There's a lot, but
I don't
not
know
that
why.
one.
Amber.
That's going down the same.
Not that one. I had, wait, let me do that. Let me just see.
Is the thought to raise it to cover the 2,000 or just to raise it?
We're decreasing it
We're
because
decreasing,
we're not gonna.
we're
get that.
decreasing it because we're not going to charge the kids.
Yeah, but if we
If we
raise
raise.
the rate for the adults, are we gonna raise it to cover the $2,000 decrease?
I see what you're saying.
No, right, no. Leave it alone.
Okay.
Just a second, but give me a second to explore that.
Yeah,
I want to see where we are through September 30th. Because I would think that we would do a cost of living, and I just have to think about whether, like, let me look at my notes here to see, did I already factor a cost of living increase into those revenues?
Already over.
Already over?
Like we've earned more revenue than we budgeted for the fit center.
I mean, through,
Yeah,
so-
it's through.
yeah, we have $79,017.
Seniors get a different, like, discounted, because if you raise for adults, then you're raising it for seniors too.
No, they don't get it.
Look at the application.
Yeah, that's close.
It'll be there. But yeah, if we had 79,017 so far through September, and I think we get a lot of revenues early in the year, because that's when people typically have joined. But I think like my membership expires in like May or something.
Yeah, and then we
Like,
might get an uptick
so
in the
there's-
summer for
yeah.
people who are just out seasonally.
Yeah, but I don't, like, I think it's not quite.
Let's see. So the single membership is $285, a family membership is $440, a college student membership is $100, volunteer fire EMS is $175, youth membership is $50, 1 month membership is $100. So there's no separation for seniors. Because I think when we had that discussion, we realized that's the majority of our income and
Yeah.
relation.
Yeah.
already trending above budget,
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
just give the kids a break
Yeah,
and
so,
call it a day.
yeah, so maybe we can leave it at 81. And if we take, just like a 3% increase. So,
So
okay,
leave it at 81.
we'll leave it at 81.
Okay.
Let me.
Well, some of the new programs she's looking to do, I think will be fine.
Oh, and then Ken wanted us to restore $250 to the piping plovers. Did I put that in?
Those red knots.
Yes. I have no idea what a red knot is.
It's a bird.
I know it's a bird, but
That's
like,
all I
I
know.
don't know what it looks like.
It's my line. 111, 16.
Maybe that should be the new town symbol, the piping plover.
They're speedy on their little feet. Yeah, and sports team, A8711 400.
It's Chiltern Island piping plover.
Piping plovers. Yeah, just if you can.
For the red knots. That sounds much more menacing.
It does.
I do like that. There we are. 1126 was mine. Okay, so I did put that 250 in. Okay. And so before we go into executive session, just to go over.
Are you at 7.7? Meg, Amber?
I'm at 7.9.
I'm at 7.5.
Oh, boy. Okay.
So we have some reconciling to do.
Campers.
I don't mind the best. Well, we have to deal with some staff salaries.
Let's go with 7.
So before we go into executive session, one of the things that I just want to put out there in the public discussion part of the realm, because it's not employee specific, is longevity. We have two different types of longevity. If you started about 10 years ago, 9 years ago, somewhere along there, before I got into town office, longevity was based upon percentage. So if you were with the town for 5 years, you got a 5% longevity payment. 10 years, 10%, 15 years, 15%, 20 years, 20%. Under Jim Dougherty's administration, he changed it so that new incoming employees, if you're here for 5 years, you get $1,000. 10 years, you get $2,000. 15 years, $3,000. 20 years, you get $4,000. As we sit and look at salaries for different employees, and as we've had to raise incoming salaries to hire new people to come and work for us, we are finding that we need to hire at a higher salary level in order to attract talent. That leaves people who are in existing positions at a lower salary level. And if they have longevity, that if they've been here long enough, the percentage increase kind of keeps them above of new hires. But someone who started more recently, and we'll get into detailed discussions, but someone like Shelby, who's been here for 5 years, 6 years,
7 years?
7 next year.
yes, 7 years. Her $1,000 longevity with the salary that she's had over the years doesn't keep her in line with other people coming into staff positions. So what we've been trying to do over the years is try and get people in bands. So if you're an entry-level clerk, your base salary is this, and then longevity is what rewards people for their experience, rewards them for staying with the organization so that we don't have higher turnover and we don't lose people to other places. So in the back of my mind, I've been bouncing around, what if we change the longevity back to percentage-based? What would be the impact of that across the organization? Who would now go from a set longevity payment to a percentage payment? So I have some numbers to look at what the budget implications are, but I want to first set salaries so that we know, we can better understand what we're looking at before we come back out and can talk about it globally again without talking about individual employees' performance and merit and things like that. So I just want to set the stage for that because I do think that that would help, that if we know an incoming, let me just look at a salary chart. We had an incoming clerk come in and, it's questionable whether or not the salary, then I'm like, is it an entry-level position or is it, it's in a department that requires a little bit more training and skill, different,
It's more specialized.
yes, just very specific training. So we had someone come in, a clerk position at 65,000. We had other clerks who were, at 55,000. So if we can sort of set the baseline so that everybody just gets the cost of living increments year to year, we don't have to every year be looking at like, oh my gosh, this person is out of whack with this person. And we may have to occasionally do adjustments because the market ends up, where 55,000 for an entry-level position 2 years ago was good, and now it's up to 65,000. We may have to still make those adjustments to some extent, but longevity will help us keep people and also, I think, keep the playing field level in some instances while rewarding people for staying with us and keeping the experience and the talent that we've invested in and developed. So I'm just setting the stage.
Wasn't there another scenario we talked about, which is taking the current longevity scale and basically doubling it? So 5 years, it's 2,000, 10 years, it's 4,000.
Yeah, that's another.
Yep.
Mhm.
Because it doesn't seem like the current scale can keep pace with anything.
Mhm.
It's not an
And-
incentive to stay.
And for 10 years, the $1,000 has been the $1,000.
Right.
So that's another problem with it. We haven't done anything to adjust that flat longevity payment.
And the percentage may take care of that, and not have to worry about it. so much.
Yes, exactly, yeah. And currently in PD contracts, they're on a percentage base. Highway is on a flat longevity pace. We did double it in last year's contract negotiation, go from 1,000 to 2,000, recognizing that there had been no increase in,
I think at 2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
yeah. So with that, I'd like to go into executive session so that we can discuss individual employees and merit-based increases and where we want to settle on that. And then when we come out, we can go back into if we decide to, and we'd have to do a resolution, a
Mhm.
board resolution in order to,
To modify the code for the,
yes, it's not in code. It's,
it's,
I don't think it's in,
I looked it up when Jack was sitting here.
oh, is it in code section?
I believe it is.
It's in the
Pull it up.
handbook.
It's in the handbook, but I think it was
It might be
actually
based,
in-
yeah, it could be based on code, in which case then we'd have to have a public hearing.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but we
Yeah.
need to start that process so that we could have it in place for January 1st.
Yeah, it has the 1,000, 2,000,
Oh, okay,
3,000.
okay, all right, so then
we
it
have
is the
to just-
legislative law, okay.
Have we made any, well, we skipped over.
When was that adopted?
This was done in May 2016.
Okay. All right, so it's been 8 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Might ask Kevin, is he doing?
Yeah, Kevin's, Christina's on, she's,
Are we pushing the discussion on board member salaries to the next meeting?
oh,
Yeah.
no, this is the meeting.
Okay.
This is the last one before.
Historical Society.
Oh, Historical Society. yes.
Sorry.
I don't think we can pay the Historical Society without some kind of contract for service.
You cannot.
That is.
It's the law.
Okay. So the question is, do we take it out and then work on a contract with them, or do we keep it in but not pay it until we have a contract in place?
I
Leave
would
it in.
take it out and work on a contract. Otherwise, it looks like we're
You're still.
giving it without having the proper.
Literally, it's illegal, so we need to take it out, and I have nothing.
It's not something I feel that we can just whip up by January or.
Let's keep, I would keep it in. They're
And
counting
I'm
on it.
not
It's an
ready.
annual thing. I would keep it in and just pull it now.
But if we can't pay it. Yes, they're counting on it, look, I would like to support the Historical Society, but we can't do it the way it has been done in the past. And we have to reconstruct it, so we can help them.
I mean, are you able to hold it until, like you said, you have a contract ready to go? I don't.
Yeah.
I did speak to somebody in Catherine Stark's office yesterday. They've got some money to put towards cultural institutions. So I'm like, can you throw an extra $15,000 at the Historical
Yes.
Society, please?
That would be lovely.
So that request did go in. um, But I don't know where that stands. I have to circle back.
I mean, even if we leave it in, we can't pay it.
Right,
So
exactly.
It doesn't matter if we leave it in or take it out. If we take it
Well-
out, we have to pull it out of general fund.
We
at
have
some
to do
point.
it out of contingency.
Yeah, so, I don't know. The only point is that it has to be restructured, there needs to be a
Mhm, yes,
contract. and-
yeah.
And,
The thing with it is a contract, but they're currently not doing anything for, I mean, they do plenty. It sounds like they.
Yeah,
Right, but I mean,
Yes,
it's
but it's
like,
not-
it's probably they're a vendor.
It's not town specific.
They are doing it because they are a historical society.
we're supporting the community.
Mhm.
I am currently not
Their
ready to
mission.
work with them yet until I am ready to work with them. They're still,
Mhm.
But there is.
mine's a separate contract than what this $15,000 would be.
Right. And if we can do something like using your archivist, you can go to the state for
And get
a
grant money for
a
it.
grant money for that.
Yeah.
But they also recommended someone who's eligible and works with state records and legal records, not historical records.
Mm.
There's that as well, because that's what kind
Mm,
of killed my.
yeah, your person,
Yeah.
yeah.
We can make a commitment to look for grant money for them.
Mhm.
There's plenty of grants that can apply
There's-
for the
there's
same
two-
grants.
Yeah, there's two different tracks of grants when we were talking to them.
And the fact that they don't get the 15 today isn't gonna shut the place down. So, I mean.
I just want it to be
I think we
legal.
need- Yeah, I think we need to pull out a budget. We can make a commitment to find grant money for them.
Mhm,
And we can also work on whatever contract we
Yes.
need. We need a town historian.
mhm,
Mhm.
There are a few things that we can formalize with them,
mhm.
Right.
and we should work towards that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we have to give Michelle $15,000 too.
Take it out, we're taking it out. For now, and if we.
Taking it out?
Yes,
Yeah.
and we,
Gotta come.
like, when we revisit it, there's contingency.
Yeah.
What line is that?
Thousand.
1,000, yeah, on ours.
A7520.
We do have a resident citizen that is not happy with how we dealt with certain not-for-profits. So, in town, let's not feed that fire.
We just need to tighten it up, that's it.
Someone once told me, the longer you're in office, the more people you piss off.
Yeah, and for the record,
So.
I'm fully supportive of the
Yes, I know.
Historical Society.
I know, I know, and we will continue to work on this, just for the budget purposes, but.
For the TV audience, I am fully supportive of the Historical Society.
Why are you saying that, Ben? I wouldn't be laughing.
Yeah. Just because you've been here,
We've all taken cuts.
we've all taken hits from being misunderstood for pushing certain points.
So we need to legalize it, and that's that.
One of the things we're trying to do is make town government behave properly. More along, well, anyway.
Okay. All right, so that just leaves the town board salaries before we discuss.
Albert?
This is where a four-member board is not good.
What's that?
the town board salaries.
Here's my thought. I suggested that we freeze our salaries. We've done it in the past, and we're coming out with a 10-point budget that's being reduced. At any rate, when I brought it up a couple of times, Amber, you said, well, Democratic committee member, Republican committee member came and said, we can change the meetings and that, blah, blah, blah. I would have been more in tune to it if you had just said, you know what, Albert? We work long hours, we put a lot of effort into this. And
I just assumed that was a
Keeping the faith.
given. Yeah, I mean, that's a given.
No, but you went into the Democratic Republican committee and they want to attract young people. And then but I think if he had just said, you know what, we work hard, we put in a lot of time. That's all.
Yeah,
So
because I've taken that stance before, that we work hard and therefore should be compensated. But the attracting new people is a newer argument that's this year. So I hear you. I should have elaborated on that, because I know how many hours I put in as supervisor, and I know how many get put in as.
I put in a tremendous amount of hours and I work very hard, and it does take away from my other job, and I do think that it's necessary to compensate for it.
Yeah.
That's, that's.
And I did poll to see what we had done over the years. And so I started with 2000, and I just pulled the town board numbers, because I also had wanted to look to see if we had treated other electeds the same over the years. So from 2019 to 2020, it was a 2% increase. From 2020 to 2021, 0% increase. From 20 to 22, then it was a 2% increase. 2023 was a 4% increase, and then last year was a 3% increase.
So fairly low increases.
Yes, and actually, I meant to go back and look to see.
And how does it match up with local
CPI?
townships? Southall.
Oh, didn't I give you that
Yeah, you did
spreadsheet?
at one point.
Yes, I gave that to you 2 days ago. I'll let someone else find it while I just do a CPI calculation.
So supervisor in Southwold makes 126,963, Riverhead 125,148, East Hampton $142,644, Southampton $149,773.
So they're comparable to Southall, for the town board level, comparable to Southall.
Right, and then Riverhead, East Hampton, and Southampton are all higher.
I think Southold doesn't work as hard as we do.
No.
No,
That's from conversations.
yeah.
Yeah, not to disrespect them,
Well-
but I just,
Yeah, they have a different structure. They have more staff that runs the town and the town hall complex and stuff. So they really are just legislative, whereas we end up wearing a lot of hats.
East Hampton and Southampton are probably key to attract a broader array.
Well, because then you can make it a job. You know what I mean? If you're getting 90,000 or what is it, 89,900 or 82,700, then you could make it a full-time job and really just work at it. But
Which is kind of what we want to be eventually.
it would be,
How do we get
yes.
there? Because you can't do it all at once.
Slowly over time by,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, because it really can be a full-time job.
Kind of is already.
It really is. Yeah, I mean, the amount of time.
Hate to break the news to you.
Oh, I know. Oh, trust me, I know. I know.
Things like tax receiver. Sort of above where the town board is.
Mhm.
You know.
Yep.
I don't know.
So if I start with January 2018, the 40,404.71, the town board salary to keep pace with inflation to the 2024 salary should be 49,506. Well, it has not kept pace with inflation.
Right now, you're proposing 48 or something? 47?
46,
46.7.
46.7.
What are we doing?
I'm saying stay.
46.7.
Robert?
What's that? Where are we?
What's your number? 0 or the 3.7%?
Whatever it is.
46,700.
Mhm.
We should at least keep it there. And then supervisor is at, here you go, 104,400. Okay. I think that's all of the open topics except for the staff reviews. So let us go into executive session. Julie, I'll call you when we're ready to go back, reopen the public session again. I don't know if she can unmute herself or, oh, she left, okay, all right, okay,
Definitely heard you.
yep, sure. Yes. So for today, we'll have like a part A and a part B.
I don't know how you do on your end. I just recessed and we went back in.
Yes, yeah, no, but I mean for YouTube and TV.
Keep it.
Meeting all together, right? There's nobody outside coming in, right?
Right.